Hey friends, my name's Steven with Leviathan Snakes, and this here is our visual clown male Chai, and hopefully he ends up being the sire to our two potential clown clutches this year, which are a banana blade het clown female, which we did last year, and it was an amazing clutch. We were super excited and lucky for that clutch, as well as a pastel Mojave het clown female that he's been paired to, and she's looking really big, and we're really excited about that. Hopefully we can get a couple more female clowns to add to the family and just start building up a stronger base in the clown project that way. But he is gonna be helping me talk about the conversion stage of the consumer marketing funnel. So this is a marketing video for the week. We're super excited. A lot of people have been asking about us, and a lot of people have been telling us that they really enjoy the marketing videos. So if you do like it, please leave a like, leave a comment below. They tend to do actually statistic data wise, they don't perform as well as our other videos. So if you guys want to see this content, if you think that other people would enjoy it or other people would find it beneficial, definitely leave a comment below, like it. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do that, and let's get to it. Setting up the context for the video. This is actually the fourth video in the series of the consumer marketing funnel. So if you haven't seen the very first video, which is selling too many snakes, I'm pretty sure is what we called it, we really like it. A lot of people seem to find a lot of value in it, and it covers an overview of the entire funnel. So that way you can get context of where this piece fits in, because this video isn't intended to be done in isolation. If you only do these steps, you probably won't see the success or results that you want when you're talking about the conversion phase. This phase builds on the awareness phase, which we did a whole video on that one. If you want to check that one out, I'll link it over here, I think it is, or here. Again, I can never tell which way it is because the camera reverses it when I'm looking at the screen this way. Anyways, we did one on the awareness phase, we did an entire one on the engagement phase, and this one is hitting the third stage of the consumer marketing funnel, which is the conversion stage. So, real quick, just to kind of level set. The conversion stage of the consumer marketing funnel, the goal of it is to get people who are interested in your brand or your products to buy from you. It is to convert them from a lead, somebody who might buy from you if you have something that fulfills one of their needs, into a customer. And this is really important because without actual customers, no business can actually be viable. And even if it's like a car dealership or Coca-Cola or anything like that, they all function like this, where they need to be able to convert people into actual paying customers, so that way they can pay all of their employees, they can cover their overhead, they can make a profit, and when it comes to ball pythons, move hatchlings. So if you aren't able to sell your ball pythons, it is generally one of the main reasons why people get out of the hobby. So a lot of people will start breeding ball pythons, and they'll do a bunch of research, like all of the stuff on husbandry, both for the animals and for like incubating eggs, and they know ball pythons, genetics, everything. They know them in and out. They are 100% legitimate experts, but when it comes time for them to sell hatchlings, it isn't uncommon that people have a hard time selling their ball python hatchlings. And there's lots of different reasons why, but one of them is often that the people who have trouble selling hatchlings haven't known how to effectively market themselves and their business before they have something to sell. So that's what this video is focused on. All of this series is trying to help build up your marketing presence, your brand value, so that way when it comes time for you to have hatchlings for sale, you don't have to worry about selling them to someone, because you have already built up that audience, you've already built up people who want to support you. The consumer marketing funnel is just a theory, doesn't necessarily mean that everybody goes through every single one of these stages, but it's like a guideline, if you can think of it like that. So the conversion phase is after somebody is already aware of your brand and aware of your products, and they've engaged with you, you've built up some trust with them. Here are like lots of different things that people take into consideration when they decide if they want to buy from you. The first thing that doesn't matter what kind of product you have, everybody goes through is, does your product, or in this case, ball python, whether it's a morph, a gender, or just if they want it as a pet? Does it fulfill a need for the consumer? So there is, I don't actually know who said this, and I might try to like find and like link to it, because this isn't my idea, this is something that's like in like marketing theory, is that your actual marketing has the least to do with whether or not the actual animal will sell or the actual product will sell. Instead, it is the targeting of the product to the right people. If you can put the right thing in front of the right people at the right time, you have a far better chance of success than just throwing out the product like a shotgun approach to everybody, because most people don't need to buy a visual clown mail or a banana clown mail or anything like that. You need to be able to find the right people who want or need that particular solution for whatever problem they have in order to effectively sell it. So when you are trying to build up your conversion phase, you want to be able to identify who are the people who are most interested or could be most served by this clutch. Let's say a clown clutch or a sunset clutch or anything like that. And this is pretty easy to do in the ball python hobby because people post their snakes all the time. So a lot of times if you are posting pictures of clowns, and that means you are interested in the morph and you're probably in the project if you are a breeder. So if somebody else has a clown snake or het clown snake that fits your plans, you may be willing to buy it because it solves a specific need. Maybe there's a combo you want to hit and you don't have all the genes you need for it. Things like that. So being able to identify the people who are best served by the product is really, really important for the conversion phase. And the way that you do this is as you start noticing people who are within a space, like whether it's the clown project or the sunset project or anything like that, you should make a list. This doesn't mean that you have to like send them unsolicited things, but know who are the right people for the right product, so that way when you have it, you kind of like have an idea of who to target your advertisements to once it comes time. So just making sure you are aware of your targeting is really, really important for the conversion phase. Now moving into like actual like advertisements, like presentation, and super, super important, because if you can't achieve this, none of the other stuff matters, and you have to be able to capture the consumer's attention. So this is often done through like really, really high quality photos, videography, displays in person. You need to find ways that you can draw the potential people who want to buy from you, their eyes to your advertisement. The thing that says, hey, this is for sale kind of thing. And there is entire videos, there's an entire field of study that centers on photography or videography, and these are great skills to have. And if you can take amazing, beautiful, eye-catching pictures, you will have an easier time converting people into sales rather than somebody, and there's nothing wrong with this, who takes out their iPhone, snaps a picture with their hand, the shadow of their hand covering up half their snake. The snake, in both cases, could be exactly the same, but the picture that is beautiful and eye-catching is going to sell easier and faster than the picture that just isn't appealing. So if you are able to capture your audience's attention, that is a key aspect of the consumer marketing funnel, or the conversion stage of the consumer marketing funnel. Now, hold on, I'm trying to get him off my wrist so I don't have to like bend it all around weird. Now, in addition to consumer interest, it is really, really important to prioritize consumer convenience. So if you have a snake that is perfect for somebody, like it is the snake that they are looking for. Maybe it's a banana het clown female, and that's the thing that they really, really want for their family. And you are like, hey, we got this for sale, the price is awesome, and the person's interested, but you're like, but we only accept wire transfers from Western Union on Tuesdays between 4 and 4:30 p.m. because that's when I have time to get there at work. The inconvenience of all of the stuff for them to essentially convert will make you lose sales. It will make people not want to convert with you because they have to jump through so many hoops. Now, the way that you can look at convenience is you try to identify the ways that these consumers are already used to buying. And if you are, let's kind of throw back to like when everybody was like first getting into the hobby. When you are buying your first snake on Morph Market is probably one of the best tools for the ball python hobby and definitely the conversion phase of the ball python hobby. But it is weird and it's different than a lot of other like online sales platforms. When we went there, we were actually pretty sketched out on the idea of PayPaling somebody money, especially if they're like, hey, do it friends and family. It kind of seems like they're gonna scam you and they're gonna steal your money and that they're not actually going to send you a snake in the mail. It just is weird and it's not something that a lot of people have done before. So if you are not aligning your conversion process with what the consumers are already used to, you will lose out on sales. So instead of only going off of PayPal, friends and family, and pretty much sketching potential consumers out, instead, if you were able to set up Square, where somebody could get an invoice through their email and just put in their credit card information like they normally would, and it just feels like a transaction, you'll probably have a better chance of converting people than being more restrictive. And somebody who is in the hobby and is used to PayPaling or Venmoing or Cash Apping different people, different breeders for snakes, you won't have as much of an issue because they're already used to it. But having a lot of different payment options and payment scenarios that align with whatever consumer stage that they're in, whether they're a pet owner, they're a new breeder, they're an established breeder, just making sure it's all aligned together will give you the best chance of converting people in your conversion phase. Now, one thing that we aren't affiliated with them at all, but we really like them. We really like Square Up as a point of sale system. So they're just in case you're not aware, they have the little thing that plugs into your phone and you can swipe cards with it. It's great for shows. They also, on their dashboard, let you build out a website where somebody can actually purchase products on your website with Square, and it's all integrated. It's super easy to use. You don't have to know any code on it. I think it costs like $100 a year to do their website feature, but the actual like point of sale thing is free, except for they take like 2-point-something% out of every transaction. So it's, in my opinion, well worth it, and Square does not prohibit live animal sales, so you're not gonna have to worry about your account getting frozen or something like that because you're doing something sketchy. So you do have to pay the fees, but they are deductible on your taxes they are a deductible expense in your taxes, the fees for the point of sale system of Square. So highly recommend them because you can set up a website that is closer to what somebody's normally used to using when they're buying something online. You can use the credit card payment service in person rather than like, hey, send me friends and family PayPal or Cash App or anything like that. And it just makes it seem more professional and it aligns with the experiences that most people have when they are buying something online or in person with a credit or debit card. Moving on from the consumer convenience, which actually backing up a little bit into consumer convenience, beyond actually how somebody pays for it. Shipping is a thing, and it can be convenient and inconvenient, but most of the time breeders prioritize the health of the animals because right now we're going through a winter storm, and I think that a lot of the East Coast is, and it would not be safe at all for pretty much anybody to ship out an animal. That said, if somebody's wanting to buy an animal from us today and they don't want to wait a month or however long it takes for it to be safe to ship, they may not want to buy from us because we are not able to get the animal to them in a timely manner. And because of that, that inconvenience can lose sales. So when you are considering your shipping options, I definitely think that everybody should prioritize the health and safety of their animals. But just be aware that the more restrictive you are on your shipping options, the less likely somebody is to convert with you. You have to kind of make it up in some other area in order to build up enough conversion power, I guess, to actually get them through this stage. So just be aware that if you say that we only ship on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and that's it, and maybe somebody has to work every single Tuesday and Wednesday and they can't make it to a FedEx hub, that may make you lose a sale. So be aware of all of the different stages that you need, all the different hoops that you need a consumer to go through in order to actually become a paying customer. The more hoops that you have them jump through, the less likely they are to convert. So a lot of this stuff that we've been talking about has been focused on online sales, which is a huge part of the hobby, but shows are just really, really important. The in-person experience of buying an animal is unlike buying something online. And in some cases, I think that it's a lot better for both the breeder and the consumer. So in person, somebody can hold the animal that they're interested in, and Chai here is just holding on to me and won't let go. But they can see the animal that they're interested in buying. They can inspect it, they can make sure it's like healthy, and they know if they pay for that animal, they can leave with that animal that day. They don't have to worry about shipping, they don't have to worry about anything like that. It is much, much, much more convenient for them to buy an animal in person at a show than to deal with all of the stuff of buying online and the risks that they might get scammed, that something might happen during the shipping process. So I highly recommend building in show appearances, like vending shows, as part of your conversion stage. Now, while you're at a show, it does cost money. When we vended our show, I think it was like roughly $100 a table, and I want to say about $200-ish for a year for the license that we needed, the pet dealer exhibition license for the state of Georgia. And it was well worth it for us, and we definitely made up all of that cost beforehand, but there are various different costs that will help you stand out if you are vending in shows. And we'll get to these later on in the different things that you should consider in the conversion stage of your consumer marketing funnel. But definitely don't only focus on online sales. And I also probably wouldn't only focus on shows either. Make sure that you are taking all of the things that we're talking about as tools, and that you can mix and match and use them to varying different degrees and figure out what works best for you. But definitely don't ignore one tool because it's harder to do or you haven't seen success with it in the past, because there's a place for everything. Making sure that you can capture the consumer's interest as well as making the whole process as convenient for them as possible are going to be almost like the foundation things that you need in order to make sure that you can convert all of the potential people that you could have. But there are lots of other things that more directly affect how people convert and why they convert. So one of them is the impression saturation model, and this ties back directly to the awareness and the engagement phases. So the impression saturation model essentially says that a consumer needs to see your product or an advertisement for your product or your brand at least 7 different times before they will even consider buying from you. And when it comes to the conversion phase, so you should already be doing this with your social media posts, with a website, with stickers, with things like that. And again, we talk about that stuff in the other videos, the awareness phase and the engagement phase videos. But for the conversion phase, the way that you're able to cash in on all of this impression saturation that you've built up is by prominently featuring your branding in the conversion ad. So if you think of Morph Market, the pictures of the snakes as conversion ads, every single one of them they are essentially saying, here is a snake that I have available for anybody who wants it as long as you pay the price below. So every single one of the posts on Morph Market are conversion ads. And a lot of these posts are simply a snake on a white background or a snake on a black background. And this is fine, it probably is a beautiful picture, but one I've talked about in the past, that this makes it really hard to stand out from everybody else on the platform, because everybody who are making posts or doing Morph Market posts like this, they blend together, they just look the same. And people may say that they do this to put the focus on the animal, but there are literally thousands of animals on Morph Market, and it's just not enough to really stand out on Morph Market. So what I suggest is that if you can prominently feature your branding, whether it's your logo, your colors, anything like that, into your Morph Market ad while still prominently displaying the snakes, so that way people can see what they're buying. So you don't want it to be edited so it's not true to what it looks like in person. But if you can display your branding in it, all of the trust and all of the impression saturation you've built up on your social media posts and YouTube videos and TikTok, anything like this, you can cash in at the conversion phase, because what will happen is, as people who are already following your brand are browsing Morph Market and they prominently see your logo as part of the post, they're like, oh, I love Leviathan Snakes, I just want to check out this animal. Even if they aren't necessarily interested in buying it, it will be able to easily capture the attention, and you're able to trade in on all of the impression saturation you've built up earlier on in the consumer marketing funnel. So the way that we do it is, you can throw in a watermark of your logo on it, but I think that this is probably the lowest effort way to do it because you essentially take your picture and then you do that in post-production. Instead, I like to try to work in our branding into the actual picture itself. So we have like a big sticker of our logo and we put the hatchlings right on top of that sticker, we set up all our lighting and we take it like that. So that way it doesn't seem like it's just a picture of a snake with a watermark thrown in of our logo, which can work. There's nothing wrong with that, but it almost like makes it like raises its professionalism up a tier. So if you have a shirt that you can put in with them, a sticker or anything like that, it's one thing that you can do to help make sure that your ad, whether it's on Morph Market or Craigslist or anything like this, it stands out from all of the other ads because generally speaking, it goes a snake on a white background or a black background, then a snake on a white background or a black background with a watermark of their logo, and then it goes into people incorporating their brands into it. And there are some people who do it way better than we do. I'm not saying that we are the end-all be-all. Like, we'll try to find some and just throw them up right here, but I think that there are some people who do an amazing job of incorporating their brand into the pictures that they use on Morph Market. Next factor of the conversion phase is how much brand value do you have? How much brand power do you have? And this often comes, we often hear about this with newer breeders who say, I can't buy into a high-end project because who would want to buy this really expensive animal from somebody who has no name? And that's 100% a valid concern, and I do think that this happens. Where if you have a really, really high-end animal, especially if it's like heterozygous for like a really, really expensive recessive, a lot of people may not trust a brand that they've never heard of before. But then there can be brands like Canova from Justin Kobolka or Ozzy or Brad Boa and Brock Wagner who have established themselves in this space, and it's a no-brainer. If Canova was selling a Het Sunset or a Het Monsoon, nobody is going to blink twice at them selling that animal. They're going to believe that they have it and that whatever price that they're charging for it is like worth it. One thing that you can see happen a lot with newer breeders is that they will, in order to compensate for not having a brand or not having a strong brand, they will reduce the price of their animals below market value because the idea is, well, if somebody wants to buy it from Canova, they like have the brand name to kind of support a premium price. But if they're going to buy it from me, the only reason why they're going to buy it from me is because I have the cheapest snake that's available, and they're willing to take a risk on a newer breeder without an established brand because there is a bigger reward, like a greater deal kind of thing that's available. And I think all of this stuff is viable ways to approach your conversion phase. They're tools. There's nothing wrong with lowering your price in order to sell an animal. But if you want to be in the space where you are getting like premium price, if you are wanting to get the full retail of your value, having an established brand is so important. And you establish it in your awareness phase, you establish it in your engagement. So we're not going to like cover like how to establish an effective brand, but when you are making your conversion posts, again, displaying your logo, displaying your brand prominently is going to give you the ability to cash in on all of the trust and reputation that you've built up beforehand. People buy from brands because they perceive that the brand was made for people like them, or it was made for people that they want to be like. So when you are building out the brand part of your conversion phase, try to identify one or two of those. Like if you say that I really, really like Dungeons and Dragons and nerdy people, when you are building out your conversion posts, try to throw in addition to your logo, some D&D dice in the background, because people who are really into Dungeons and Dragons may see your post, they see the snake and it's a snake that they might be interested in, and they also see the dice and it gives you a point to connect with them on. So again, just building up that connection because you are essentially saying, hey, this snake, a clown female or something like that, is from Leviathan Snakes and we are nerdy and we like tabletop RPGs, and that's why we're kind of displaying the Dungeons and Dragons dice in the background. Somebody else who is nerdy, looking for a clown female, and is aware of our brand, they see the Dungeons and Dragons dice and they're like, oh, that's super cool. Like, I play too, what's your favorite class? And you can build up like a connection, and they're much, much more likely to convert when you have a shared interest that you can connect with. So that's branding. Make sure to feature not only your logo, but the things that are related to your logo that say, here's the type of person that I am and the type of people that I would really, really like to do business with because I want to make new friends. that kind of thing. Something else that is really, really cool about brands and like brand value is that a lot of times, if there's a brand that you really like, and this happens a lot in social media for like influencers, if there's a brand that you really like, people want to support that brand. They want to give that brand money so that way the people who are behind that brand can continue producing the content that they like. They can continue producing the products that the consumer likes. They want that brand to succeed. They want that person to have a benefit and a reward for all of the hard work and effort that they've put into. And again, the only way you are able to get to this point is if you are working on your brand way before you have something to sell. When you are making a post that says, hey, here is something for sale, chai is not for sale by the way, but you have something for sale, whether it's a snake or a product, and please give me money, you can, those posts, those types of things almost like damage your brand. And it doesn't mean that doing it one time is going to make people not want to pay attention to you. But if you start flooding your feed with, I have this animal for sale, I have this animal for sale, I have this animal for sale, nobody's buying this animal and I have them for sale, over and over and over again, people start tuning you out because you are losing, you've already cashed in the goodwill that you've earned before that. So you want to kind of like a bank account, build up the brand loyalty and the brand value way before you have something to sell. So that way when you do have something to sell, you aren't essentially going bankrupt on all of the goodwill that you've built up before then. Because eventually, everybody's like this, even if there's a brand that you love, if it gets to the point where every single interaction that you have with them, it seems like that they're just trying to take your money, it makes you not want to support them as much. It doesn't feel like that they're your friend, it feels like that they're using you as a paycheck. So try to avoid oversaturating your conversion posts, whether it's a post on Morph Market or posts on social media. You want to balance it so that way you don't only have, hey, give me money. You also are providing unconditional value to your audience. And then when it comes time for you to realistically convert somebody, then you've already had goodwill built up for them. So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but it has to deal with pricing your animals. And I think that pricing is one of the most important aspects of the conversion stage. And it's 100% a marketing tool of the price of your animal, whether or not it's going to attract interest, whether or not it's going to actually attract leads, or somebody who will eventually buy your animal. And it goes both ways. So if you price your animal way too high, people will say that animal is not worth it, and they might look at it, but they're not actually going to inquire because the price is too high and they think that it's just not a good value. If you price it too low, like way too low, people will be like, that seems sketchy to me. That doesn't seem right. I don't know why it's priced too low, and because of that, there's probably an issue with it, and therefore I don't want to buy it. Now, then you're looking at the retail value of the animal. So if you are going to say, like, I have a visual clown male, let's say that the range for that is $200 to $300 for a visual clown male. Now, if you priced a visual clown male for $50, people might think that there's something up with it. Or if you priced a visual clown male at $700, people would be like, that's ridiculous, that's not worth that much. And you wouldn't be able to convert it either way. You'd have a very hard time converting it either way. Now, if you price them at the appropriate retail value, you can probably sell your animal as long as you find somebody who needs the animal, you're able to capture their attention, and you're able to convince them like you are trustworthy and that the animal that they're buying is exactly what they're going to get. When it comes to commodities, commodities are products or services that are exactly the same no matter who you get them from. And ball pythons are commodities. A clown ball python produced by us at Leviathan Snakes is the exact same thing as a clown ball python produced by Canova. It doesn't matter who did it. It is the exact same morph, it serves the same purpose, it fulfills the same need. It is a commodity. But when you are doing commodity pricing, what people do is that they look at all of the commodities that are the same, and the way that you get somebody to buy yours is you price it lower than the competition. So that way, if somebody needs a clown ball python and they look at all of the single gene clown male ball pythons that are available, they go to the cheapest one that they trust is like legitimate, and they buy that. That is how commodity pricing works, and that is a completely viable strategy in the conversion phase. That said, a lot of people put years of work, years of effort, and the odds are completely random, and there's a huge amount of chance into breeding ball pythons. And because of this, people don't want to be stuck selling their animals for bottom of the barrel prices. Instead, they want to be able to say, this snake is worth $300 and I want to get $300 for it, and my price is firm. The way that you're able to do this is by building up brand value. So your brand value, again, talking about earlier, is making people trust you, making people want to support you because they feel connected to you, and it's about making people feel that if they buy this snake from you, it says something specific about them. So you see this a lot with Canova, and I think this is one of the brilliant things that Justin Cobulka has done, is if you buy a snake from us, you just have a snake from Leviathan Snakes, and some people might care about this, but we don't have a big enough audience to like really have brand value, like real brand value. If you buy a snake from Canova and you go to resell that snake, every single time somebody will say, this was produced from Justin Cobulka. And that has brand value to it. So it makes the single gene clown male that you have, even though they're exactly the same animal, because it was produced from Canova, it carries a higher status symbol with it. So this is really, really important when it comes to charging premiums and full retail value for your animal. If you get a really, really strong brand, you don't have to only sell to people at the bottom barrel, or like bottom barrel prices. You don't even have to sell for the retail. You can charge a premium for it. And the way that you're able to like figure out if you can do this is if you have so many people wanting to buy a snake or specific snake from you, specifically from you because they want to support you, that you cannot keep up with the demand. And it's like, okay, I have 15 people, like right now we have like 15 people on the waiting list for sunsets. If it comes up and we're completely unable to do it, we're like, look guys, like we are so sorry, we only have 5 snakes this year. This is all we got, and the price is, it doesn't even matter. Let's say that the retail price is $5,000, and we would say we'll sell it for $5,000, whoever wants it. If of those like 15 people who are interested in it, they're like, yes, I'll do it, and 3 of them want to do it, somebody might say, I'll give you $6,000, I'll give you $6,500, and that's how you're able to build in the premium. And I'm not saying that you should do this, because I don't like the idea of selling something for more than what its retail value is. I don't think that's good. And I also like the idea of if somebody's gotten a hold of us way beforehand and said like, hey, if you have this animal from this clutch, I definitely want it. I think that their patience and their willingness to wait so that way they could buy it from us, that deserves like monetary compensation. And if the retail value is $5,000, they shouldn't have to be charged the retail value for it, because they themselves sacrifice time by not buying that animal from somebody else in order to buy it from us, and we want to recognize that. So just different things to keep in mind of when you're building out your pricing in the conversion phase. You can go high, you can go low, your brand can influence it, and if you have an established market, an established need of people who want it, the price becomes really, really important on what it says to both the person who's buying it and what you think of the person buying it. So just things to keep in mind during the conversion phase. Next topic of the conversion phase when it comes to marketing is a sense of urgency. And you see this all the time. It's one of the most powerful, popular tools in the conversion phase. And it's like, for a limited time, here is this deal kind of thing. Or in addition to urgency is exclusivity, and they work hand in hand. They're both like together. So when you are talking about urgency in ball pythons, a lot of the times people have a really, really limited availability of animals. They might have 1, maybe 2 of the exact animal and the exact like sex with the exact combination that somebody's looking for. And this exclusivity, the scarcity of it, creates a sense of urgency, because I'm sure everybody's been through a situation where you see an animal on Morph Market and you're like, oh, that's perfect, I want that so much, but I don't know, I'm gonna think about it. And then the next day when you decide to buy it, you go back and it's sold. That's like the idea. So the urgency to buy something can make people convert. And if you're able to establish a sense of urgency, somebody who's on the fence who might buy it, it might be the push that they need to actually pull the trigger. So there are things that you can do to not only have there's only one of these available, and therefore if you want to buy it, you need to buy it now. There's a couple things that help establish a sense of urgency, and one is time. So you see this a lot around Black Friday, where somebody say, for this weekend only, we're doing a 20% off sale. So if you want to buy something and you buy it now, you get 20% off, you get a better deal. So you're using price, which we talked about before, in combination with a sense of urgency in order to convert people who are interested. And this is a great tactic. I really, really like it. Because instead of just having a constant 20% off sale, what it does is you are strategically able to get somebody to say like, oh, I want something, I have money right now, I need to execute right now. And it helps actually convert better than if you just had everything's 20% off all the time, no matter what. I think that a time-based sale is really, really good idea, but you can't just do them all the time, because if every single month you're having a time-based sale, and I'll get into another example in a second, if every single month you're having a time-based sale, there isn't a sense of urgency, because somebody can say like, oh, I do want that, that's a good deal, but I'm not really sure if it's still available next month when they have their next month's time-based sale. Then I'll buy it then. And that just kind of gets kicked down the road until somebody else buys it or they just never convert. So you need to make sure that you are sparingly using time-based sense of urgencies if there's sales and stuff like that. And a lot of times I think that they work best when they are coupled with some other pattern like Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's, a happy birthday sale, things like this. Now, I think that one of the coolest things that you can do deals with like time-based sense of urgency is in like the opt-in part of engagement, which we're going to talk about later on, but it's really, really cool, and it deals with like loss aversion and time-based sales and coupons and things like that. In addition to the time-based sense of urgency, scarcity urgency is really, really powerful. And this almost always happens in ball pythons already because there's just not enough of the specific combo and the specific like gender to go around. So when you are considering using a scarcity sense of urgency in your conversion ads, the way this would work would be somebody inquires about, let's say, one of his offspring. It's a Mojave clown female hatchling or something like that. Somebody inquires about her, we post her on Morph Market, and when we respond, we might say like, thank you so much for responding, we really appreciate the interest, so many people seem to really, really like her. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, we can send more pictures, just let us know what you want to do, as well as if you'd want to ship or pick up in person. And simply letting the person know in that response, and that essentially the response to it is another conversion phase ad, even though they already saw the picture and they inquired, any communication you do with them until they convert is part of the conversion phase. It is letting them know that they are not the only person who wants this animal. So if they want the animal, if they want to buy it, they should probably actually purchase the animal quickly so that way it doesn't sell to somebody else. Now, I think that this is really, really important when it comes to the conversion phase, but that you shouldn't lie about it. I think if you lie about it, people can like kind of pick up on that, and it can ruin trust and it can damage your reputation. So only say other people have inquired about this animal too, if they actually have inquired about that animal. So just something to keep in mind when you are trying to create a sense of scarcity urgency in your conversion phase ads. This next topic is one of my favorite parts of the conversion phase, and it deals with opt-in engagement. So opt-in engagement is where the consumer previously, for whatever reason, there's lots of different ways, has said that I want to see ads from this business. And this can be them signing up to a newsletter or a wait list, or just following you on social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. It is saying that a potential consumer has seen your stuff and they're like, oh, I might want to buy from them in the future, so I am giving them permission to engage with me in the future about this topic. And this is why I think that the more explicit that the opt-in is, the more effective it is in the engagement phase. So if somebody follows you on Instagram, that isn't a super explicit way to say, I want you to tell me when you have something for sale. But if somebody signs up for a wait list for a specific clutch, that is the most explicit that you can get, and it's almost like pre-ordering it. So I think that having these like different kind of funnels where you're like, all right, here's my wait list, here is people who have expressed interest on buying something from me just in general, and here is people who follow me, here's people who are signed up to my email newsletter, things like this, like having the different avenues and the different groups, so that way you are better at targeting the people who want to buy from you. Just like we talked about in the beginning, targeting is the majority of the reason why somebody will actually buy from somebody or buy from a brand. Now, when you are building an opt-in engagement, the idea is that somebody has communicated to you that they are interested in buying a specific product from you in the future. So when you have that product, when you're structuring your opt-in engagement, you can do some really, really cool things with it. One, you can create a sense of exclusivity. So not scarcity, exclusivity, by saying like, hey, I know that you had inquired about sunsets in the past. We just had this clutch. We are getting ready to post them on Morph Market next week, but we wanted to reach out to you specifically. So that way, if you wanted to buy something, you have the first chance at this. And it's really, really powerful because people like being given special treatment. And it's not necessarily a negative thing, it's just kind of like a fact. So when you are like an insider with a specific brand and they are giving you the first like crack at something, it often makes people want to buy from them. Even if they don't have an immediate need right then, something to keep in mind is if you have people who have expressed interest to you and you have something for sale, when it's ready to be sold, letting them know before everybody else gets a chance, it raises their status because they get a shot at something that the rest of the general public didn't have a chance at. So something to keep in mind when you are doing your opt-in engagement is creating exclusivity in your ad. So letting them know, this is before anybody else has a chance, you're the first person to get a crack at this. Now, in addition to opt-in engagement, you can do some really, really cool things in specifically email, and it can be other stuff too, like Instagram messages, but email I think is the best because there's entire like courses and marketing tactics built around this. And there is Seth Godin is this really, really big marketing guy. If you've read his book, I think his book is called This is Marketing. He talks about this concept and I think it's brilliant. It is that loss aversion is a much, much more powerful force than a benefit gained when it comes to somebody converting in a sale. So the situation that he did is that he was marketing eyeglasses, not sunglasses, like prescription eyeglasses in third world countries. And what they would do is that they would go in and they would set up this booth where they would give somebody a like eye exam right there at the booth, and then they'd be given like different frames, like a prescription thing, so that way they could immediately see the difference and the benefit that they could gain if they bought one of these eyeglasses. And then when they were like all done with their exam and they could see better, they brought them over to the frames and they're like, all right, which one would you like to buy? And at this point, they noticed that they were getting about 30% of the people who actually went through the entire process were actually buying. And this is a great, amazing conversion metric, by the way. Like 30% conversion is incredible. But he was flabbergasted by it because these are third world countries where they don't have optometrists. They don't have this opportunity coming by almost ever. And there's so much like urgency because once they left that village, they didn't know when the next time they'd be able to buy eyeglasses, and that these people could immediately see a benefit for them, and it was a price that they could afford. It wasn't like $300 for a pair of glasses. These were like fairly cheap. Now, when he like kind of looked at all this stuff, he didn't understand why they weren't converting higher. He kind of felt like it should be like almost everybody who was going through this process would convert, and instead it was about 1 in every 3 people were converting. So what they did is that they changed it to where at the beginning they said, hey, pick which one of these frames you like best. And then somebody would pick the frame. And then they go through the eye appointment, and then they would put in the prescription lens into that exact frame, and they'd give them the glasses, and they'd be like, here are your glasses. here you can look at yourself, you can see how much better you can see just in general, and this is the not once in a lifetime, but such an exclusive chance to do this, because the next time we're going to be here is 3 years from now, because we travel around and things like that. If you want to keep your glasses, you just have to pay us X amount of money and you're good. But if you don't want to pay that, that's perfectly fine. You can give us back your glasses. That's the key there. It was your glasses. They had already been given the glasses in their mind. And what they were doing is that they were capitalizing on loss aversion. Instead of a benefit gained, which was, hey, you can see better, do you want to keep this benefit that you've gained? Instead it was, these are your glasses, but I'm going to take them away from you unless you pay the price to buy them. And they noticed that their conversion rate went from like 30-some% to like 70-some%. And it was super, super cool. And the reason why I bring this up now is because this loss aversion tactic can be used in the opt-in engagement phase as well as in-person sales. So in the opt-in engagement part of the conversion funnel, or conversion phase of the consumer marketing funnel, you can send out a coupon to your email list. Everybody who's signed up for like a wait list or Clutch like newsletter or anything like this, you can send out an email saying like, hey, everybody who's on the email list right now, here is a one-time use coupon where you get 25% off anything on our website. At all, period. Doesn't even matter what it is. Only you can use it because they're unique and they're identified to like your specific email, and they are only going to last for 24 hours. And what happens is the people who get this, one, they feel special because it's exclusive. It's the only the people who have signed up for the email list get this unique deal. In addition, there's a time urgency that's going on, and there's the scarcity urgency of ball pythons just not having a lot anyway, so if they want to buy something, they better buy it quick. Now, the last thing on it is that it is a coupon that they own. It isn't a sale where they can get a benefit. It's a coupon that they own. And if they don't use it in the 24 hours, they lose the coupon. It is the loss aversion aspect of this that makes it even more powerful than a flash sale that's open to anybody, because it's specific to a person and it's a benefit, it's an item that they have at that point. That coupon is theirs, but if they don't use it, they lose it. And if they use it, then that means they converted and they bought a snake from you. So just something to keep in mind when you're building out your opt-in engagement stuff is trying to focus on ways to use loss aversion in addition to time-based urgency and scarcity urgency. When you are working an in-person show, if you're vending, you can use the loss aversion as well, and a lot of people do this. So a lot of reptile vendors will let people hold snakes that they're interested in. And in addition to letting them hold snakes, there are an equal number of people who don't want people to hold their animals because they don't want to like transmit mites, they are scared of somebody running off with them, which both of these are perfectly valid. If you allow people to hold your animals, the animals that they may be potentially buying, you can help establish this loss aversion early on, because as they're holding this beautiful little banana ball python, and it's so cute and it's wrapping around their wrist and it just seems snuggly and just like an amazing pet. And you start talking about like, oh, they really like you, they feel so comfortable with you, like that animal right there, I can see that being like your pet. Like that is your snake right there. When it comes time for them to either give it back to you or to buy it, they've already started thinking about it as their snake. And they don't want to lose their snake, that specific snake, even if there's an exact snake, exact same morphs, exact same gender, in the table next to you, for a cheaper price. If they become connected to that snake, they don't want to lose it. And this is where you're able to shift away from commodity pricing. This is where you're able to shift away from all the other things that would make somebody buy a snake from like a big brand and buying it from a smaller breeder, because they want to buy that specific snake, because if they don't buy it, they lose it. And it's something that they already are starting to think of in their mind as theirs. So loss aversion, super, super powerful force when it comes to the conversion stage of the consumer marketing funnel. There is so much stuff in the consumer marketing funnel, and there's so much stuff in the conversion phase of the consumer marketing funnel that you could study it for years and not know everything about it. I certainly don't know know everything about it. And if there's a strategy or a tactic that you've found in the past that you think would be like really, really good for one of these stages, definitely leave a comment below. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to learn more about just marketing and sales and stuff like that. And it's super fun, and I don't think that there is any way for somebody to master everything. You don't need to do all of these different tactics. They are tools, and you can pick and choose what you want to use, but hopefully you found some value in here. Maybe there's something that you've heard before, maybe there's something that you're like, oh, that's a really good idea, or there's something like, that's stupid, I'm never gonna do that. But just when you are building out, whether it's ads, whether it's communicating from a response in an email, whether it's vending at a show, keeping in mind the various different things that make people want to buy from a brand or a business and the things that make them want to buy now is going to help you succeed in selling snakes. So we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Again, as I've been saying for a while, we're like in the pairing season, but hopefully we're going to be getting clutches soon. So if you know that there's a clutch that you want, definitely let us know and we can add you to the wait list. Like I said earlier, like anybody who signs up for our wait list early on is going to get a better deal than if it's just general public buying a snake kind of thing. So we hope you enjoyed. Please tune in next week and we'll see you then.